Guys, listen, man. Listen, Tom Arnold here. And now it's time for my favorite podcast, Milkshake.
Milkshake. Milkshake. Milkshake.
Listen, man. Let me tell you something. Tom Arnold here. And now it's time for my favorite podcast. And believe me, I listen to a lot of podcasts. Milkshake, starring Randy Rains and Jeff Rimmer. Take it away, boys.
Milkshake.
All right, Milkshake. I didn't sing it this time, Randy, so
Thank
you're
goodness.
welcome. Yeah, shut the hell up, man. I thought it was pretty good when I listened to it about 15 times last week.
Yeah, you like to listen to your parts, and somehow you fast forward through what I do. So I know what you're doing back there. You're looking at yourself on camera. You're only listening to your part of the podcast. I'm starting to feel like a reject, dude.
That's all right. You should. No,
So we're back early this week, man. It's Monday, right? And we've got a special show. We haven't done a special show since Super Bowl. Remember that red shirt guy?
I actually talked to him about 2 weeks ago, the red shirt guy. So he's unemployed now, and struggle's kind of real. He said things went downhill after our Super Bowl show. So
Now I feel bad he bought our milkshakes.
yeah, truly.
Well, good, man. Let's do a quick recap on last week, and then we'll get started because we do have a special show. We have a special guest joining us tonight. But real quick, I received a lot of emails this week on last week's show. Of course, I always get the hate emails for whatever reason. I did get one on my top 5 bucket list. The Alaska trip is probably out, Jeff. I was told to keep my lower 48 butt and my pipeline away from Alaska. So I am happy they called it a pipeline. My wife doesn't refer to that as a pipeline, but I'll take that as a compliment.
What did you just say? Can you just repeat that one more time? One more again for me. I got lost on a lot of those words.
Lower 48 is what
Okay.
Alaskans call.
I get that. I
right.
understood that.
And
then
she told me to keep my lower 48 butt and pipeline. Remember, we're always trying to put pipelines up in Alaska. Remember
yeah,
that?
I get it now.
Okay. All right. So let me write down these jokes for you. I'm happy to do so.
I'll study them later. Next time,
right.
send them to me before so that I actually
will.
can prepare myself to laugh. Okay.
I just add in the laugh track later. But
Sure.
but really, most of the email was around Kevin Spacey and that interview you had 2 weeks ago with him and some of the tough questions you asked him. So have you heard back from Mr. Spacey, and what's he doing this week?
Ironically, yes. About 3 days ago, said he would be listening this week to see if we are going to talk about him again. He would prefer that we didn't, but now we are already. So he's not a very friendly person.
No, and I will delete any emails going forward, and next week we'll only talk about this week's guest. So hopefully it'll be more friendly.
Yeah, I don't want to say
friendlier
much more
email.
about Kevin Spacey. I'm honestly a little scared, if I'm being
All right.
truthful here.
He did stare you down, man. He did stare you down.
Yeah, you get lost in his eyes. You really do when you're looking at it. So, and you're wondering like what's happening behind those eyes. Truly.
Well, let's put last week behind us and start with this week. We've got a
Let's
special
do it, man.
guest tonight. Yeah. And we've got a special guest. She's a legend in the Atlanta comedy scene. She's a family favorite in my house and hopefully in hers too. Katherine can be heard on her podcast, her hit podcast, Cheaties, and she can be seen live and in person throughout the Southeast and Atlanta at numerous clubs that we'll talk about later. But Katherine Blanford, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Sometimes when I close my eyes, Randy, I feel like I'm hearing, oh my God, why am I blanking? Robin Williams, Back from the Dead. Have you ever gotten that?
No, I've gotten, let's see, Pee Wee Herman, a 13-year-old going through puberty, and what else, Jeff? I don't recall the other
Casey Kasem, man. I hear Casey Kasem.
I do hear
when
that.
he's on. Yeah.
I hear that. But
I like the Robin Williams too. I like that.
Oh, there's a Robin Williams in there.
Oh, Nano. Yeah, that's all I know.
Just
right?
the voice, none of the talent, but they got just great. It's a voice.
Well, now his head can't even fit into the screen like earlier when it was just his chin. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. It was like, I'm about to tell my grandpa happy birthday.
Hey, listen, I'm 55 years old. You're lucky I have a microphone and a camera and a dial-up
I still
modem
can't see
from
all of your
AOL.
face. I still can't. Like I only see your lips.
Well,
There we go.
listen, I'm not in the good room today. I'm back in the bedroom, quarantined again today because my daughter Anna Rains, who I'll talk about more in a moment, because that's how Katherine and I have kind of met. And I'll go through that. But she's taken over. She's a deputy field director for a local campaign or a statewide campaign for John Ossoff. And so she needs quiet time and room. So I get sent to the bedroom to do a podcast, which brings in millions of dollars every week. So something's just not right, you know? But,
I mean, this shift in what you just said is that your daughter is running an important campaign, so she sends her dad to his room to do his podcast.
Correct. The good thing is I have a rotary phone.
What? I mean, I can't. What happened to us? What happened in 2020 where the parents are doing podcasts now and the kids need quiet time to work?
Well, the funny thing is she and all her friends want to start a podcast. I'm like, go at it. See what you can do. Because they mock me, of course, because I'm old and my stuff is terrible. Although, and I will be honest, her friends listen to the show and my kids hate it because sometimes we actually say something funny. And people like that. So people tune in and like it. But just to give, it's funny, this past week, Jeff said, well, I don't really know Katherine, so you're probably going to have to lead most of the interview. I'm like, dude, I don't know Katherine either. I know K-Biz from.
I thought y'all went way back. Like I thought y'all were boys from way back in the day, and a stand-up career together. I heard about y'all's little duo and everything. So I'm a little confused now.
Yeah. No, just Instagram. We're just Instagram friends, and you took a hiatus, didn't you?
Yeah, I get sent off Instagram from my wife real frequently because I post a lot of shit that she doesn't find funny. That quite honestly, and I will go to my grave saying anything I post for the most part is pretty damn funny. In fact, that's how you and I hooked up, so to speak. My daughter brought me to your show. And then she showed you the next time she came to one of your shows, she and Seth Eaton, who's her boyfriend, they showed you my Instagram feed and you were like, I've got to follow that guy.
Oh, yeah.
And you did. And then my wife kicked me off for a little while. So I've been, I'm like a dog that's just getting beat all the time. It's just not right, Katherine.
You need that Instagram account. What do they call it? It's a secret Instagram account.
Oh, yeah. One of my daughters.
Jeff's got one for Grindr.
I found it. What is that called? Man,
I can't think of it either.
Yeah, it's I'm gonna have to figure that out on here because
Yeah.
They have it. All the youngins have it. And it's like their little side hustlegram where the parents can't see. So in your case,
exactly.
Randy, where, you know, your
My
kids
wife.
don't see.
No, I want my kids to see because then their friends follow me and my population will build back up again. But it went down to 0 again because I got kicked off. And I just like to embarrass my family, quite honestly. I think it's great. I'm old enough now that I really don't care. So I have a little bit of fun with it. So Katherine, before we start, I just want to make sure we're all cool, right? And I know you do stand up. You've got a great act. I've seen it. But before we start, I want to make sure that we don't cross any boundaries with you, right? Your comedy boundaries. So whether it's religion, politics, Forrest Gump jokes, sex, whatever it might be, where are your boundaries for this conversation?
What am I allowed to say? I don't have any.
All right, awesome.
What are y'all's boundaries? I got nada.
All right, good.
I guess my only boundary would be I'm kind of an idiot. So just don't ask me anything. It's too smart because I'm not going to be able to answer it.
Neither can we. So
don't worry about that.
Around. It would literally, that question would bounce. All right. So I figured out what it is. It's a Finsta account, the Finstagram.
Yes.
Right?
Finsta. Yes.
That's what it is. And by figured it out, I had to text one of my kids real quick.
There you go. So God, I wish I would have thought about that. I saw Obama admitted that he had one, and now I got to find it.
I'll go back because we're stuck on this Instagram thing, and by us being stuck, I am. If back in the day, Randy actually hired me for a job. That's how we met.
Okay.
And I remember I was interviewing with him, and after I talked to him, I was like, man, there's something like super sexy about that guy, like just his voice and everything, like Robin Williams. What is it? You know,
his hairline.
Yeah, it's what it was, and I had to have more. So I looked up on Instagram, I found him, and everything was public. So I could see all of his posts, and I'm showing my wife, and she's cracking up, and I'm like, I have to have this job just to work with this dude. Like literally just to not to like get in his pants. I mean, that happened eventually, but just to like really be next to this guy and his comedy and his humor. He's got a classic Instagram account for sure. And you're
a meme guy, aren't you, Randy? Well, love a meme.
Yeah. So I
it's like meme. It's not meme.
Yes, I know. And
Mhm.
I like to take memes that I find are funny and add my 2 cents to them. And
Uh-huh.
even my son, who's now at college, he found my account probably 2 years ago, and he was just scrolling through. He's like, "Damn, this is pretty funny stuff." Then he realized it was his father, and he's like, "Oh man," So it is what it is. But I was looking
Yeah.
at your website,
Oh God,
katherineblanford.com, right? Yeah, you're a comedian, writer, and a human
I
golden
haven't touched
retriever.
that since 1980.
Oh, well, the good thing is, like I said, it does tell us who you are, right?
Okay.
Comedian, writer, and human golden retriever. And Jeff
Uh-huh.
has brought a tennis ball and some Jif peanut butter to help with the questions and get you going here tonight. So
Thank you.
it's actually a good website. So good job on that.
Thank
You
you.
should be proud of it. But
Paid someone.
let's
She
jump
looks
into how.
she looks super confused right now when you're talking about this. She's like, why?
Yeah, I think I paid somebody and I've never seen it. I think
I don't
I
even
haven't
think it's
looked
your
at it.
picture up there. I honestly, they use someone else.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they're funny, they're not booking me anything. But
No, it's a
So,
good say, but Kate Banford is taken by somebody in LA, just so you know, so you can't ever shorten your name. Yeah.
well, is your
Otherwise,
name? But your name's Blanford, right?
it is, I just am not. I don't want to correct Randy. He's having a hard enough time. It's Blanford, but everybody, because I
Blanford.
do comedy, and everybody I get brought up as Katie Bamford all the time
Mhm.
because of Maria Bamford. Everybody
Yeah.
thinks of, if y'all know her, she's one of the best famous comedians, and so I got to be related to her.
So drop your
But
L in Blanford.
I think I
Like, get
might.
rid of it. You need to.
I
So,
might, but she's so quirky, and I'm not that quirky. I wouldn't be able. It would be like Tony Rock. Have you ever seen Chris Rock's brother, Tony Rock?
Yeah.
He's funny. He's
Yeah.
he's awesome. But I mean, do you
You're
want to
not
be
Chris Rock.
Chris Rock's little brother?
Yeah.
No, that's a hard act to follow.
Yeah.
Too hard.
Well, speaking of that, so you brought up some funny people. One of our theme, usually what we do, other than the random, celebrity interview things that we've done, but typically what we try to do is tie in a top 3 or top 5, like just our opinion, because no one really cares what we think, but we like to at least count it down like someone would. And so with that being said, our whole theme tonight is comedy, and that's why you're our special guest. So we're trying to count down our top 3, each of us, and maybe we'll each have the same ones. Like maybe we copied and pasted. I don't know. Our favorite comedians and why, and we'll kind of like banter about it and make fun of each other for it and move on from there. So
Yeah,
Okay.
and that'll mix in with some of the questions we want to ask you as well. So, we do want
I'm
to find out about you, what you're doing during COVID. First off, are you even performing right now? Just before we even start, I'm curious, are you out there in the road, or are you doing everything just at home?
Yeah, actually, I am. It was a lot of Zoom shows in the beginning, which you thought comedy was depressing live, and then you did it online, and then you were like, oh, I didn't know it could get worse. It's real sad. It's just 8 people with their cameras. It's a Zoom show, so 8 people with their cameras off, and then just one couple with their camera on, but they don't know it, and it's zoomed in on their crotches while they're sitting on the couch. And or you can perform for a bachelorette party that had to like reschedule, so they had a Zoom bachelorette. I performed for a couple of those, and that was just a couple girls breastfeeding, and then somebody's husband in the background yelling about the yard and dishes. So
it's fun.
I'm
It's a lot
never
of
gonna
fun.
I'm never gonna complain about a live show again. So I did some of those, and then it's kind of picked up. I just did a whole weekend at Zany's in Nashville. That was like my first club show, maybe 6 months. But there's a ton of outside shows happening in Atlanta. Like they have the ones at Pond City Market every weekend. They've got them in like this alleyway in the back of Highland Ballroom. If you ever wanted to see comedy and feel like you've been kidnapped at the same time, I highly recommend the Highland Ballroom shows. They're starting to like just kind of pop up here and there. Who knows if they're going to stay? I don't have my hopes up yet. Because I feel like winter's going to happen, and all hell could break loose again. But yeah, there's been some like here and there. It's not really the same. Outdoor comedy isn't the best, because it's like the laughs kind of go up and away kind of thing.
I imagine there's a lot of distractions and things too with that, and that it's the way you're about to land a joke and stuff, and then people are just looking off to the distance and staring off like.
The things you can imagine don't happen. It's a fireworks show that just happens to be on a Tuesday night that night at 7:36 p.m. Or an ambulance goes by. Now
what about hecklers? Are we having any problem with hecklers right now, or especially on Zoom? What does anybody say anything on Zoom, or do you have them all muted? You can't mute them, then you wouldn't hear them laugh. So what's going on there?
Most people mute. Your hecklers is just somebody's spouse pissed off that they didn't do the dishes that's screaming at them through the kitchen. Outside there's no hecklers because you can't hear anyone because they're so far away.
Great environment. So the alleyway is the best approach right now is what you're saying, like a rape alley.
Yes. Look, everybody's condensed. They have to look at you. I mean, like they're in like a tiny little space, and it smells like shit. So it's kind of the best for comedy.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, how did you get started, right? What was your motivation to start doing stand-up? Have you always wanted to be a stand-up, or is this something that just happened when you got bored being a nanny?
No, stand-up came and then nanny came, but I didn't grow up watching stand-up comedy. I didn't really know any of the greats, people I didn't know who Pryor was. Look at me. I didn't know who Pryor was. I grew up like a horse freak and didn't know anything about comedy. If you would have asked me 8 years ago, my favorite stand-up comedian was, I'd say Dane Cook. It was just surface level kind of.
I would have said that too about 8 years ago. True story.
Yeah.
Run for a little bit. Yeah.
I should say this stuff. This is going to the public.
There's 8 people listening.
Yeah. So. Okay.
You're good.
Life. I did this. I was in a sorority, and there was this competition for this fraternity competition, and so each sorority had to submit a girl, and it was like a fake pageant kind of thing, and every girl had to have a talent. You had to do it with a pledge. And I remember I would go in my younger years, I would go watch, and the girls would be doing these amazing dances, or they'd have no clothes on it, and I'm like, I can't be sexy. I can't dance. I don't know what I'm gonna do. So Chelsea Lately Chelsea Handley had her show Chelsea Lately at the time. And so I wrote a monologue I was Chelsea Handler opening the show. And then I did a mock interview. My pledge was Charlie Sheen when he was winning. Yeah, when he was doing all that. And I roasted all the dudes in the fraternity and all this stuff, and I won. And that was dude, that's kind of like stand up. I kind of like that. So I just was in the back of my head for probably 5 years. I didn't consider doing it. Moved to Atlanta, and I was working. I was a venue manager. And I just took a class, not even thinking I was going to keep doing it, just a bucket list thing. And then I just got the bug. And so at that time I was a venue manager for major. So I was working for the PGA, and then I was down in Orlando and working for the Magic. And then I was in Atlanta for a smaller place. But you're working, it's nights and weekends too. And so my boss at the time called me, and he's like, "Hey, I want to offer you the Dallas Cowboys job, but you'd have to move to Dallas in 2 weeks." And I called him back, and I was like, "Actually, I quit. I'm going to be a stand-up comedian." And he was like, "Good luck, you idiot." And then I started nannying just to work during the day and pay the bills. And here I am. I've made $40 off of stand-up comedy.
That's
more than us.
Yeah, the Cowboys are infamously cheap as well. So, but Jeff is a huge Cowboys fan, so you probably broke his heart.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in you.
Yeah, he loves the Cowboys.
Look at the time; we're almost at 20 minutes. I think that's enough of this episode. We've had a good time.
We've heard enough stupidity from her.
Good job, Katie. Katie Blanford. It's been great. So, all right, let's jump into this. Thank you for that first. I don't want to totally disregard everything you just said and act like we weren't listening. Thank you for sharing that. It's a cool story and how you naturally, organically got into that, and I like it. So now you're here, you're doing it, and it's fun.
You're welcome.
And so, you just mentioned Chelsea Handler. So who is, if you had to pick the top 3. Actually, let us start because that way you finish when we get down to number 1. So we'll start with our top 3. Number 3, we'll go around the horn and then we'll finish up with number 1. That way you have time to think about it if you don't already know who your top 3 are. So I know I'm not going to overlap with Jeff or you because I simply come from a different generation. So, but there have been 3 comedians in my life that I've really enjoyed. 2 of them work very clean. One of them works every angle, which I love. But number 3 is one that you guys might have seen, who I just think is brilliant, and he's a genius. And he has one of the best bits about Pop-Tarts. His name's Brian Regan. And if you haven't heard him, watched him, seen him, he is probably one of the best guys out there today. So highly recommend. My number 3 choice is Brian. So Jeff, who's your number 3?
Okay, we're going that quick through it.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and tell his whole library. No, you want me to go through his joke library?
Damn, I have like 15 pages of notes up here of like each one that I was going to talk through.
Well,
so now
fire away. I'll just take a little nap. I'm getting old, so I can take a nap while you do it.
I'm used to it. So, all right. So number 3 for me is someone that's kind of newer and fresh now. And I fell in love with this dude because of his TV show, honestly, is Pete Holmes, and through his podcast as well. And Pete Holmes to me is just one of the most authentic, like just there's something so like natural about that dude, but it's awkward. And he feeds into that awkwardness. And that's kind of what his comedy plays off on. And I've only seen him once live. And it was exactly what I expected. Like truly like watching Crashing, his show, watching Crashing and seeing, just that. I literally thought that was his life. And it was. I mean, that's legitimately how he came to be. And watching him live and everything was tremendous. Like it was exciting, and I had no idea he was the voice of the E-Trade baby. Something I found
who?
Come on, Katie.
I only have Netflix.
Yeah, well, back in the day, Google E-Trade baby. It was a Super Bowl ad. It was
was 2000. That was 20 years ago, Jeff.
Was it that late?
That was like 20 years ago. Yes, because that was about the time I was. It couldn't have been later than 2002 for sure. It had to be. Well, yeah.
So honestly, I was going to say, I really, he has such an unassuming approach, and he just seems like a genuine dude that you just want to be best friends with. And I listen to his podcast routinely. You Make It Weird. And he does. And that's what I love about it. So more than anything. So that's my number 3 on that.
Okay, 2. Pete Holmes used to be one of my favorites. He's still amazing. I wouldn't put him in my top 3, but he still has one of my favorite bits. It's on Spotify called Telemarketers.
I haven't
heard that one. Oh my God. Just, you don't even need to see it. He still has one of my favorite albums out. It has me, it's like one of the bits I tell people to go listen to. It's called Telemarketers.
Okay.
And I love Brian Regan too. I think he has a joke about buying a refrigerator with his wife or something like that. And it was so funny.
It's a good set. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, my number 3. I
think we lost her, Jeff. I don't think she wants to talk to us anymore, man.
She's like, I'm done. She said, okay.
Okay, number 3, I'm out of here.
She like pieced out on us there for a minute.
So we have lost our guest for the week. We don't know if she's coming back or not, but I assume she is. Yeah. Have you ever seen Brian Regan?
No, not like in person. You mean, or like
either or? Because he's done a few TV spots, but or shows, but really live. He's kind of nerdy in his approach, and he'll talk about teaching his kid baseball. And when he goes to make a throwing motion, it's almost like he's never thrown a baseball before. So you can picture this nerdy comedian like, and he's throwing a ball to his son. But there's no cuss words. There's nothing bad. You can take your kids, and we've actually taken our kids, and we've probably seen him 3 or 4 times live as a family over the years. He works that clean. Yeah.
Honestly, dude, it'd probably be good for us to just go ahead and play one of her stand-up bits while we're waiting for her to figure out her life and come back to it.
Life is just kind of a yes and for me. Okay, today I pulled up to Starbucks and the barista was like, "Oh, ma'am, the man before you paid for your student loans." And I was like, okay, well then who the fuck is gonna pay for this latte? on yachts and they sip cocktails made out of the bone marrow of an endangered ostriches, right? So we pulled all of our money together and we went to Fort Lauderdale. Some of you been. Okay. It's in Florida, and it's just like Miami, but with love handles. And we went on an excursion. We did a fun one. We found a man on Craigslist. And we hired him to take us on his boat into the ocean, where you can't run away. And if you're worried, I want you to know we were safe, okay? His name was Salt Daddy. So we knew he had daughters. He was so nice. The whole time he wore his gut. He took us out of the ocean. It was fun. We were playing kidnap, and he played music and poured drinks, and we did what good little white girls are supposed to do. We were twerking to Tim McGraw. I'm not going to do it for you. Okay, but just imagine like a litter of scared puppies. That's exactly what it looked like. And we were feeling so sexy because Saul Daddy was taking a lot of videos. And then he was like, hey, some of my friends are going to join us. And then this big yacht showed up, and it was full of like a bunch of like Miami goddesses, you know, like women with bodies that don't make sense mathematically. You know what I mean? We were like, how do they fit those intimidating melons into that toddler's bikini? And they turned around, and the thong just hurts to look at. It was like, is that touching your urethra? Is that why women always have to pee? Yeah. The whole butt made me hungry for a honey baked ham. And Saul Daddy just got on that boat, and we didn't see him for 4 hours. Do you know the worst part about getting kidnapped? Is when your captor looks at you and he's like, actually, never mind.
You're back. We thought you left us, but
I was talking to myself for 5 minutes.
You literally disappeared. You said up, so my 3, and then you just pieced out. Like
You didn't
literally
hear any of it?
nope.
No. But we'll move on to number 2 now. So thank you for that.
Can I pitch my number 3? Because it's
Please.
one of my favorites.
Please do.
All right, number 3 is old school Ellen DeGeneres.
Okay. Old school Ellen.
Yes.
Yes, I can listen to her stuff on repeat over and over again. I mean, her like famous God, when she calls God vid, is still, I think, one of the most genius bits I've ever heard.
Yeah.
She
And
actually
that's your 5 minutes that you were saying on it. What
Huh?
were you saying to yourself? Like,
Well, you guys were both frozen, and I was like, I look like you guys are both just disappointed in me, and you're trying to fake smile, and so I don't know. Is there something about Ellen? I mean, I know a lot about Ellen, but is there something I haven't heard recently? Like, am I not supposed to talk about Ellen? Kind of thing.
No,
What-
we love Ellen, and yeah, I support everything she does. But no, we were just frozen, or you left us, and we kind of
Okay.
made a joke about that, thinking, well, maybe she didn't like how the show was going, and she just
No.
decided to disappear.
where were we frozen? Like, what was our face looking like?
You both were like,
Uh,
it was like kind of like,
Like a
I guess you can't,
constipation?
the audience can't see. Yeah. Like, well, yeah. Or, you know, how you're like sitting at the Thanksgiving table and politics gets brought up and you're like,
yeah. So we were not impressed with Ellen.
no,
Okay.
no.
got it.
But you tried your hardest.
I did. I held my face pretty long that way, which
Yeah.
is impossible to do.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Ellen for you. I like it. I like that
Mhm.
one. Cool.
Mhm.
Maybe
And-
you'll
and
drop
she-
off again.
Well, we were just talking. No, you're still there. We're
Oh.
good. But we were just talking about honorable mentions, and there's an ongoing joke every week. Jeff and I do top 5s with folks, and we never can stick to the number. We always say, well, we like these 5,
Mhm.
but here are the 5 people we've wanted to mention as well. And we were just talking about honorable mentions as you jumped off and left us. But Ellen was the second one. The first one was Tina Fey, Jeff. So I really don't see Tina Fey as a stand-up comedian. However, probably one of the funniest ladies out there, in my opinion.
Tina's great. She's classic. Bossy Pants was an amazing book that I read. My honorable mention, if I had to throw one out there, Mitch Hedberg. Would probably be his voice and his delivery nobody compares to his delivery. Like, just the stuff he says is sometimes not even funny, but the way he says it, you just laugh. Like, he'd be like, potatoes, and you're like, yeah, potatoes, man. I laughing at it. So he should be in the top 3 maybe, because I do listen to him a lot whenever I can, and I wish he was still around so I could listen to more, but sadly he's not. So anyway,
we always say something like lose the fluff. Whereas, like, like you try and write a joke until every single word is absolutely necessary. And, and there's also like saying where we say, like, kill your darlings, which is like, there's a joke that you love that you keep trying, but dude, it's just not working. Like, you're just going to have to kill your darlings at some point. And he is a one-liner comic, but I watch these people and I'm like, damn, they're so good at just being so precise. It's just like, it's like joke after joke after joke after joke, and there's just nothing in there but jokes. Like, their setups aren't that long. It's just and I'm obviously a wordy son of a gun, so that to me is like magic.
Well, it is. He is like the king of all, just the one line.
Like, I don't know, before him, back in the day when there was actually albums, and I heard the word album, so I got excited. But Stephen Wright was the king of one-liners, and he was like, you'd have to look him up if you don't know him, but he was a kind of a depressed individual. He would just sit up there and go, "Oh, poor pitiful me." He was kind of like the Eeyore of comedy, but all his jokes were simple one-liners. People would laugh. He'd go right to the next one. But he was really good back in the day. Not in my top 3, 5, or 10 probably, but I loved him. So Jeff,
Dimitri Martin, is the new Mitch Hedberg.
Who is
Dimitri Martin? He has a special on Netflix.
I'll have to watch
like one-liners.
No, I do. I loved Mitch, just his voice and the way he did it. Yeah, no, I'll have to watch that. All right, I'll jump into my number 2 then. Keep this thing moving along. It's probably one of the best comedians of all time that all of you will agree. It's Larry the Cable Guy. I can't even finish the sentence. I can't. I really can't. So it's not. All right, so that'd probably be like a joke that he would do too.
Did you see my smile? I was trying so hard.
He was like, "Is he real right now?
Yeah.
Is this real?"
Okay.
Larry the Cable Guy. All right, cool. Yeah, I like little Toe Mater. No, it is a Larry. It's Larry David, number 2 for me. And honestly, I did a top something a while back, and Larry David makes it towards number 1 or number 2 on my list for almost everything I can potentially put him on. Yeah. He didn't make number 1 for this one. He did for something I can't. Oh, who we'd want to have like at a dinner party one night, like the top 5 people, whether they're dead or alive or whatever. And he made number 1 for me because just having dinner with him would be amazing. But his comedy is insane. Seinfeld, Randy and I talk about Seinfeld all the time, and Curb Your Enthusiasm, but any and everything in between. I've tried to find some of the stand-up stuff he's done back in the day, which there's not really anything that's videoed like that. It's just you have to find transcripts of it. Some things that he said, but funny guy that I always will laugh at, and I can just look at his face and laugh, like something funny is about to happen. So
he would be my number 1 person I'd want to have at a funeral.
Yes,
that would be classic. That would be classic. But it's funny you mentioned Larry the Cable Guy, because Catherine, you've opened for 2 of the guys who were in the big comedy tour, right? Ron White and was it Foxworthy also?
Yeah.
So now, who do you think is funny between those 2? I like Ron White.
Don't make me say this.
No, you got to pick. And Jeff's a local guy, so it is possible that he may stumble on this podcast. So be careful who you choose. But I will go with the Dallas guy, and I'll go with Ron White, who I think is actually brilliant. I like him, but he's not on my list.
I think that they're both brilliant. And it was so funny working with them because I know that they're good friends. And like it was about the same time. So I knew that they, like, one had told me that they'd met up with the other one. But it is night and day different human beings. Completely different human beings. It's like being with the president of the Christian group in college and then being with the president of a fraternity. It is two different human beings. I don't want to pick. I mean, I guess just based off of I'm gonna go with Foxworthy. I think generally I just think he just was so nice in the green room, and like, not that Ron wasn't. One, was complimentary of my comedy, and one was complimentary of other things.
Yep.
Yeah, but Jeff is just so, no matter like how much he has on his plate or what he's preparing for, just down to give you life advice and talk about you as a human being and stuff. He's like, he is as much of a gentleman and awesome as he is on screen. He's like that in real life too. He's awesome.
That's awesome. I can't imagine how much money he made off just the line, "You might be a redneck if." But that was a great tour, that whole redneck comedy tour.
So smart.
Yep. Good stuff there. So we're at number 2. Jeff's already picked his. I'm going to go way back on this one. This guy was great when I was 12, 13, 14 years old. I'd buy his records, all the records. I would actually buy the records, and I loved him. Steve Martin was a brilliant stand-up comedian who parlayed that into a lot of different things, from movie making and so forth. But if you can go back, he had some great skits that he would do. He was a great storyteller, one of the first storytellers, and I loved him, and I still do. He just doesn't do as much stand-up these days. But number 2 on my list was Mr. Martin. How about you, Catherine?
Have you read Born Standing Up?
I have, yes.
Freaking made me fall in love with comedy all over again. Okay, so my number 2 is going to be, unlike anybody we've heard yet, Cat Williams. And Cat Williams, because of the sole fact that he is one of the best physical comedians in the world. He has a bit, you can YouTube it right now, about tigers at the zoo. And I mean, it's one of the best physical comedies I've ever seen. He lays down like a tiger, and he has this line. He's like, "I don't feel like a tiger." And I could watch it every single day of my life. That bit. And then, his poor little Tink when he's talking about, have you seen it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The guy that he ran the Olympics, and he didn't have either one of his lower legs. And then he ended up like killing his girlfriend and all that, but it was before that time. Both of those bits are two of the best physical comedy acts in the history of time.
Yeah. I like Cat, man. I mean, his voice obviously helps with all of that too, and the information that he has too. Interesting. I don't think I would have expected that on any of ours, but I respect it. I actually do, because your list isn't as good as mine, but I respect what you say at the very least, right? I hope you have Foxworthy as number 1. I hope you do.
I don't know if y'all are gonna know who my number 1 is.
Well, that's what I was hoping you would do, is kind of, shoot out one of those arrogant comedian things for us, like, so we're not in the know because we don't know this person kind of thing. So I hope that's what you have for number 1 for us. But we'll wait for you for last then for that. So Randy, hit us up, man. You're number 1.
Yeah, another one. I'm going to go back a little ways, not as far back as Steve Martin, but far enough back that you guys still will appreciate everything he did. We talked about Richard Pryor earlier, and he was hilarious, but he's not my number 1. But what he brought in was a new revolution of comedians, right? Because Richard Pryor went off. He got so hot he caught on fire, but he was very funny. But Eddie Murphy came on after he did, and they actually didn't even like each other, and it was kind of a rivalry. But nowadays you can't do some of the skits that Eddie Murphy used to do, like Buckwheat, which was hilarious, or Buttwheat, and Your Mama's on Welfare. There were some great stories and jokes that he had, including Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood on Saturday Night Live.
Yes.
But by far the guy who, when I think about comedians, who resonates most with me growing up and made an impact on my boring childhood, 15, 16-year-old life, was definitely Eddie Murphy.
Yes.
Yeah, Steve Martin, Eddie Murphy. I mean, you bring up classics. I mean, truly, it's hard to argue with that, and I don't know. Eddie, man, I wish he would do more. I know he had that comeback on SNL for that one episode. Was that last year that happened?
Uh-huh.
And he's doing a Netflix show where he's getting ready for it. I think maybe when this pandemic's over, he's actually going to have a stand-up. So he did a movie for Netflix, and I watched it. They raved about it, and I can't think the name of it, but it was about a film producer in the 70s, a black film producer. And I watched it. I wasn't impressed with the movie, but he is working and he's being paid a tremendous amount of money for one show. I think it's either $28 or $30 million for one show that he's going to do. He was going to do it sometime this year, but with the pandemic, it's probably been pushed off till mid next year, probably. But I'm looking forward to his comeback, quite honestly. I think it'll be great.
This is probably the third time that I've brought this movie up, and I still think it's underrated, but it's Bowfinger, man. Like, since you mentioned both Steve Martin and Eddie Murphy, Bowfinger, I don't know why. I talked to so many people that never even seen that movie, and I don't understand why. I don't get it. It's not, you don't see it highlighted anywhere or promoted or anything. You have two of the biggest people. You have number 1 and number 2 on Randy Rain's list in the same movie.
That
like
alone.
that.
That alone.
And it's not like just prime everywhere. Like, you should see it, but it was a great movie for sure. So,
all right, Ram, what is your number 1, man?
Man, all right. So you would think I would go with somebody like a Jerry Seinfeld or someone like that, but Larry David kind of took all of that. I mean, as far as the creativity and the writing, Jerry, I've seen him do stand up. He's great, whatever. I'm kind of pulling a Randy here where he's like, oh yeah, Richard Pryor, but that's not my person. So let me talk about 15 different people that aren't my people to get to my number 1. Like, let me do that.
Only did one.
No, it's Katie Blanford is my number 1.
Blanford.
Who is that?
Wait,
Tell me who she is. I've got to look her up. Does she have a nice website?
She does. It's a great website. Just make sure you type in Catherine and not Kate.
And Blanford. Let's make sure we do. Like,
I'm sure it's a Blanford because I know your name. So
I do want to give you
the props. I typed it to the Skype.
Kate Blanford or what? Did you type in Kate Blanford?
I typed in my full name, Katherine Blanford.
That's good.
That's
my Catholic mother would not let me go by Katie or Kate. I was Catherine for forever. I will always be Catherine. I have actually a story about that with Bill Burr.
Well, let's hear it. This is a great time for it.
Who's your number 1 for real?
It was Bill Burr. You just ruined it for me.
Was it?
No,
okay,
it's
good.
not. It's not. It's not. I want to hear your story. Let's hear it. Then I'll say my number 1.
I host an open mic at the Punchline every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, tired of this Sunday. I didn't want to fucking go do it. Bring up 10 asshole, ungrateful new comics every Sunday. And I showed up, and this funny thing about like club managers is just like, nobody knows who the club managers are, but they literally know all of our heroes. Like, they're one text away from our heroes because they've just been in the business forever and like they have no ego about them. But the manager over there is favorite human being. Her name's Marcy, and I show up and she's like, hey, Bill's gonna stop by. So whenever he shows up, just ask him once he goes up. And I was like, yeah, sure, Bill, cool. Bill Burr's gonna show up. No problem. Freaking out. I think I just went and puked for a second, and then I came out, and he just shows up in the back in the green room, like with a hoodie on, and I'm like, hey, Bill, can I get you some tea when you go up? And he's like, yeah, I'll go up whenever. And he was super cool, super nice. And I was like, I'm Catherine. Blah, blah, blah. So I go do my set. Of course, you're sitting there like, Bill Burr's watching my set right now. And there's only 10 other comedians in the room. So just silence. And so I brought him up, and then he does his thing. He actually which is my favorite thing, is to watch like great comedians not do great. Only because you're like, oh, it's that's forever, you're always gonna have kind of shitty sets, and he was like, and he wasn't having a great set, and at one point he made some morbid joke about his kids rolling out of the back of his van and dying or something on the highway, and everybody laughed, and he was like, of course, this is a room of comedians, this is what you guys would laugh at. And then he just gets up and he's like, all right, everybody give it up for Barbara. And then I was like, I guess I'm Barbara now. And I ran back on stage. And later I was in the green room, and he was back there, and we were talking to the GM, and she said at one point, she was like, and Catherine something. He goes, wait a minute. He goes, your name is Catherine? And I was like, yeah, and I'm sorry. And he was like, I called you Barbara. Why'd you let me call you Barbara? And I was like, because you're Bill Burr. I literally, if you called me Rainbow Kitty Tits, I'd be like, this is my name now. I'm Rainbow Kitty Tits, whatever. Yeah, and that's the whole story. But he's super cool, super nice, just like a comic.
Yeah,
all the way through.
I regret asking you to tell us that story now. So I wish
What?
I would have
Am I
moved into
talking
my
too
number
long?
one. No, I'm kidding.
Not
So,
at all.
all right, listen. All right. So, no, that was a great story. And I like Rainbow Kitty Tits at the end there. So it was a great finale for it. But you're right. Whatever Bill Burr would call you, you just go with it. And Barbara's
Absolutely.
not that bad. You look like a Barbara. I could see that.
I know. Also, I'm not going to argue with Bill Burr. I would have it
No.
handed to me.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Walk up and take the mic and be like, actually, Bill,
Dude.
Yeah. No.
it's Katie Blanford. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to, like, come on. So, all right. So my number one is a comedian who is the only one, I believe, and I'm only saying this now because it's the only thing I can think of. There might be other people who have done this, but who can genuinely make me cry and laugh. And not the laughing cry, like the crying, laughing cry, like where you're hysterical because it's so funny, but actually genuinely deep down crying. And then next thing you know, you're laughing. And it's Ricky Gervais. And
Really?
it's, yes.
He's
and like,
great.
it's a lot of stuff that he's done, but specifically in the TV shows Derek and Afterlife, both of those
Both of them
TV
are
shows,
great.
it's intense, like how he will make your emotions go from 0 to 100 with just the way it's written and the way it's delivered. And it's incredible. He's polarizing for sure. I mean, the way he calls out celebrities makes me laugh, like the stuff that he does on the Golden Globes. And, you know, people either hate him or love him, depending on, you know, what side of whatever fence that you're on, whatever he's saying at that time. But if you follow him on Instagram, he posts the funniest pictures all the time. Like literally, they're usually the same ones of his face being kind of like deformed or something. But it's funny because you'll know he's just Ricky Gervais. But if you, I don't know if you've seen either of those shows, but please watch them on Netflix. You'll go through the emotions. You really will.
I would recommend Afterlife before Derek. They're both great shows. But Afterlife it will rip you apart both emotionally and then he turns the table and all of a sudden you're laughing. But Afterlife, I introduced to my whole family after I had watched it on a road trip. And I said, you guys have to watch this show. It's great. They said, what's it about? I said, depression. They're like, oh, that sounds wonderful. But it actually is a great story. So they're both on Netflix and Ricky is a great choice, Jeff. But we've got number one coming from Katherine, so I can't wait to hear who I don't know is
Come on,
the best
Barbara.
comedian out there. Yeah,
What you
Barb.
got?
Come
Okay,
on, Babs.
I thought we were going stand-up
Well,
comedians.
I did,
Solely based
see?
off their stand-up.
I did.
But I love Ricky Gervais. I think I heard him do an interview with Tom Papa and Fortune Feimster where he was talking about Afterlife and how he like based off of his own stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so my favorite comedian, because she's the only one. I'm not an out loud laugher, and she's the only one that gets me to out loud laugh. And I think it's solely 'cause she's just so good at timing. She can just hold a pause for so long, and it just kills me. Her name is Tig Notaro. Have you ever heard of her?
Don't know her. Nope. You got us.
She's awesome. I think she has a special. It's not on Netflix. It's somewhere out there. And she's a show called One Mississippi on Amazon, I think. And she's absolutely hilarious. If you look her up on Spotify, she has my favorite bit of hers is called Them Little Titties. And that's all I'll say about it.
All right.
This is my last time like I have to sell her. She did the show as kind of like live on something, and so it was just like a live recording. And so I think Louis C.K. was there, or he was producing it or something. And she had just like her mom had just died. She just found out she had breast cancer and all this stuff. And she went on for like an hour, and it was just like her telling stories and just her like comedic, like just natural ability. It wasn't like written bits, and it's on Spotify now, and it is so good. I think it's just called like Tig Notaro Live or something.
I just looked up her on the Google machine, and I know who you're talking about now. I had no idea who that was, but I know exactly who you're talking about now. Interesting. I will, if it's that good, I'm going to check out One Mississippi for sure.
She's so good.
It's a Prime original. Prime.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It's a true story about her life too.
Yeah, I'm into watching that and see. I know nothing about her, so that's great. Like it's something brand new I can dive in. I don't see her on Instagram, so I guess she doesn't have a page there either.
It's called Fluff Notaro. It's her cat, but it's her.
All right, I'm pulling that up now just because I want to follow, because then that's usually how I tell someone's following.
She's so good. She's on she's done Conan like a ton. Like she's like a comic. Huh?
Is anybody watching Conan?
No one watches Conan
What?
anymore.
I love
No,
Conan.
that
Yes,
red
I
hair,
love him.
he's got to go. Yeah,
I
no,
can't hear it. I can't hear it. I love him so much.
I-
That's my
but if
dad.
if I'm being honest, though, I don't watch any of them anymore, like any of the late night guys like that anymore. I just haven't in a long time.
see, I like
I'll watch
Kimmel
the-
still.
Yeah, I'll do like Kimmel. I'll watch their opening monologues and then interviews if it's somebody I care about. But that's
Mm.
it. And that's pretty much on Instagram.
But yeah, that's what I said. Usually the next day you just see that little quick clip
Yeah.
anyway, so it's fine. I have a question for you, and then obviously I want you to tell us your social channels and all that jazz, and kind of tell us a little bit about your podcast. But tell us a time where you really like fucked up, like on stage or like something related to comedy. I don't care about your personal story in life and things that you've done wrong, that led to where you are in life. But any time that where you just were up there, has there been a time is a better question where you're just up there and you're like, shit, like that went bad, or I'm struggling right now, or I somehow need to, figure out how to get out of this.
There was I can't remember. I just remember this is again like I shouldn't even admit this out loud. There was a time I just gotten my 23andMe results back.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wildly disappointed to find out that I am 100% white. And
Shocker.
I'd gone on stage and this was like just new and I was kind of like riffing it. And I was like just upset that from what I'd found out. And I was like, I just wanted to be, I can't remember exactly how I related to it, but it was something to the point where somebody was like, well, do you know who Rodney King is? Am I even saying his name right?
No, that's right. You're
Rodney
right.
King, yeah.
You were looking at us weird, so I was like, is she
Can't we all
Because I'm
just get
so
along?
paranoid now. And I had to do like 20 more minutes on stage. And I was like, no, I don't know. But I know the minute I get off stage and I look him up,
Wait,
I'm
so
going to feel like a
someone
dumbass.
asked you while you were on stage, do you know who Rodney King is?
I'd gotten into this. This is the point where this is when I learned to only get into crowd work when I know where it's going. Like
Right.
I can control the direction, but I had no idea where it was going. And it led to that part. And then everyone was just like, we hate you. So just a lesson in like crowd work is when you are always one or two steps ahead of of whatever the crowd's going to say, no matter what they say. And I didn't that night.
Well, Rodney King hasn't been in the news since probably 97. So look at it that way, right? We're talking 23 years ago, because I think he happened after the big OJ event.
Yeah.
Before. He was before.
Yeah.
Was it before? So
Yeah, I think it was
OJ was
early
90.
90s.
I think OJ was 97, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Rodney King was early, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It was in the context too of me just complaining about how white I was, and they were like, "Well, you could have done something about it." Yeah, that's
So it was
all I
probably
can think
not
of now. I'm sure there's a million other examples.
probably not a time to drop in a Rodney King joke or anything at this
Yeah.
point. That
Not going to go there. I'm not going to go there. Not today. Maybe 20 years
I've
ago. I
heard
would.
like 2 or 3 in the past, and they're ridiculous to say the least.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that story. Even if that's made up, I really like that
I
you brought
didn't.
it to the table. It's interesting at the same time. So, all right, Barbara, tell us a little bit about your podcast. So I'd like to hear a little bit more about it.
So
Cheaties.
Cheaties. So I co-hosted with my friend Lace Larrabee, and what happens was she used to have a bit on stage about how she had caught her boyfriend cheating on her by he was sleeping and she was fake sleeping until she went through his phone, and Jonathan's tits didn't look like that the last time she remembered, and then she and then she starts scrolling and screenshotting and sending it to herself, and she has a whole bit about it. And then I was dating this guy, and he was sleeping and I couldn't sleep, so I was like, well, I probably should go through his phone now.
Yeah, of course.
And I found screenshots too, and so I literally scrolled and screenshot, and I remember I called her and I was like, I just pulled a Lace, and so we got to talking, and we were like, dude, this is like everybody's got a story. Somebody's got some kind of story about cheating, and so we started a podcast. And we just literally have people call in and tell us their stories, like whether they were the cheater or the cheated. I literally have a story from the beginning. I was like in high school, and I cheated on my boyfriend, and then he got back with me by hooking up with Carrie Miller's cousin that would always come in town for the holidays. Later on, that cousin grew up to be Jennifer Lawrence, so it was a real revenge story. But
he won that one.
Yeah. He won that one.
He did.
It's not over though. It's not over. Okay.
It's true. Barbara's on her way. Come on now.
Yeah. Everybody just has a story, and some of them are like so funny and just from the past, or some of them are like more heartfelt. But it's so crazy how every story that ends, it's like a coming of age kind of story, if you will. Like everyone's always like, I'm appreciative that happened in my life. So it's a fun podcast.
No, I like it, and I've actually listened to a few episodes before you came on here just to get a feel for the show. So you guys do a pretty good job over there, and hopefully one of our 3 listeners will pick you up as well. So that'll add to your mix, right? So we've got this big audience. But so where else on social media can we find you? Why don't you give yourself a big plug as to where you're going to be, where we can find you and keep up with you?
Clearly that website. Right?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're
website.
not looking for my website, let me know how to find it. I don't even know what it is. Just find me on Instagram. I'm at KBiz9, 2 Z's, same on AIM. That's
Randy's
the most.
face.
Yeah. AIM, it's where we used to chat, Randy.
Yeah, I was with AOL. I actually worked at AOL in the late 90s.
Okay, so you know.
So I was there before AIM was even developed, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, Randy, tell her your claim to fame with AOL.
Which one?
Whichever one you want to share, but there's like a big one with animated imagery that Randy was basically the creator of.
I did not create any animated GIFs.
Oh, come on now. Don't try to be all humble.
It was the first ad that they served up was back in probably 2000, a company called Lending Tree bought, everyone just used to buy ads. It was a newspaper online, a color newspaper online. And the first ad that they sold that was animated was Lending Tree. And that was on my team. And we sold the first animated GIF ad, which was obnoxious. It was if you remember the toy where the monkey bangs the cymbals, that's all it was. It was just a monkey up on your screen banging cymbals. So people naturally clicked it. And then they realized they were at Lending Sites Tree. And then
you gave them a virus.
No virus.
And that's how you got into their homes.
But banging monkeys. That was the first animated GIF ad. Was the banging monkeys in Lending Tree. Yeah.
Okay. So that was the first clickbait.
Yeah.
If you will.
Pretty much. Yeah. And now everybody hates it, right? Especially the headlines. The headlines that cut off halfway through, like Trump dies, and you're like, what? His hair purple, So you got to click it to figure out the next line. But so KBiz9 on Instagram and the same on AIM. Wonderful. Yeah. Love it.
I just got to say real quick, and I know that Barbara Catherine Kate here is looking at this. Randy, like in between your microphone here, there's a baby just staring at me. I don't know if you can see it or not. Which baby is this? Right there. Yeah. Which baby is this we're looking at? Is this Randy?
No, that is my youngest, who is now a senior in high school. That is Mary Margaret. But I told Anna, let's see.
No, Anna messaged me and said, I think this is the first episode I'll listen to.
Yeah, that's actually Anna right there when she was 12 years old. No, Anna has listened to it because I know her boyfriend, Seth, listens to it all the time, and he laughs at the stupid jokes we make. So she can deny all she wants, but ultimately she's into it as well. But those are all older pictures. Back when I
just see this baby staring. I've been watching almost the whole show, the whole time we're talking, like just staring at this baby back there.
She loves your voice. She loves your voice, Jeff. Yeah.
Let's talk a little slow. Get it soothing. All right. So KBiz9 Instagram, and then Cheaty's podcast on Instagram as well, to plug both of those. And then we'll plug our own. I don't think we've ever plugged our own on our show. And I think it's Milkshake podcast. I think that's what it is.
Oh yeah. I love the little two-faced lady that you guys put up.
Yeah, I one of our kids did that. But we actually, I'm sorry, our editors and our social media crew and our producers and just our agents, like they all handle that stuff. So I can't tell you what's on there. We don't look at that kind of stuff.
We're much too busy for that.
We are doing big deals with Kevin Spacey, and all of our other ones. But no, I'd like to get into your podcast more. I saw there was like 60 episodes, so I was like, I need a good couple weekends to really dive in with a book and listen. But you can listen to ours. You can probably put it, that like 2 times, 3 times on Spotify, where you just kind of put it on fast forward while it plays and talks real fast.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Best approach with ours. You just do that.
2
Rapid
times.
listens.
Yes, please do it
Smart.
that way. But no, I really appreciate you getting, and obviously Katherine Blanford is her real name, not Barbara, Katie, or Banford, or
Whatever.
any other ones we've talked about. I can't remember the pink tits one you said earlier, but you are doing cool stuff.
Mrs. Rainbow Kitty Tits.
Mrs. Rainbow Kitty.
And
Tits.
we
That
will
should be
see
your
you.
Instagram
Yeah,
name.
we'll see you on tour soon, I'm sure. So let's get this pandemic over, get you back up on stage, and my daughter will drag me out to another show soon, I hope.
They've already been to a couple. They're the
They're-
number 1 fans.
They are.
Yeah.
No, I'm excited. I'd love to come to one sometime soon. So come to Raleigh. It'd be great.
Okay, I'm coming to Raleigh.
Are you?
Good nights.
Really? When?
Yeah. Not anytime soon. Nothing's on the books.
Oh, okay.
but I'll
I was
be
like,
there.
no, so this is happening now. So let's put that out there at this point. So,
No,
all right.
I'll be there
When it
soon.
happens, then we'll bring you back on and let's plug it again.
Cool.
Let's do
So
it.
it'll be fun. And
Yeah.
if you need 2 dudes to jump on Cheaties with you and make up some stories, we can do that too, because that's what we're good at. So
Yeah, or make something happen now. Whatever is good for material. Okay.
I
We'll do
vote
it.
for Randy to go ahead and take one for the team on that one. So
No, I'm already
Or
in enough trouble with the wife. Trust me.
Or
No,
the
I'm not gonna
story
tell
of-
any stories.
for the story of ourselves cheating with each other on ourselves without our wives, with our
Of
wives.
Their podcasts on other
Yeah.
podcasts.
Yep,
There you
that's
go.
it. Actually, I do that. I do cheat on this podcast with another podcast.
He does. He cheats on me.
Okay, we'll have Randy on to talk shit about you. Can I
Well,
say that?
damn.
You can. We
You-
use
you
all the
just did.
words. We know them all.
We did.
Catherine,
Well,
it's been
thank
great
you.
seeing you. We
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much for having me.
We'll see you real soon.
Toodles.
Okay, this is what, the younger you are, the less you are affected by corona, and the older you are, you're more likely to die. And this is why I think, because, the younger you are, the more shit we've been giving these kids, and the more their bodies are adapting. Okay, the children are running around right now and thriving, and we've given them something called Go-Gurt. Do y'all know what Go-Gurt is? It started out, what started out as yogurt. Do you know what yogurt is? We took a byproduct from a different species, and someone was like, wait a minute, maybe we shouldn't eat this. Let's wait till it gets clumpier. And then they're like, what if we put it in tubes and gave it to kids while they were running around? And mom's like, I don't know, is it organic? And we were like, Yup, this flavor is, it's called neon. Which is why they're gonna survive corona, okay? And then, women in their 20s, like me, totally